Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Beyond the Case, which is a podcast for global leaders from the Harvard Business School's OPM community. These leaders are joining in a personal capacity and they share real decisions, failures, and mental models that go behind building enduring companies. I have incredible guests today. It's Ritika Khanna and her husband, Raman. Welcome, Ritika and Raman.
Hi, glad to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. So, just to give you some backstory, Ritika and I tried speaking a few days ago, and then we recognized that the conversation might be a lot more powerful with her husband being around as well, because he's been your partner in this entire journey. It made more sense to have this conversation together. So, Raman, I'm very glad you could join us.
Thanks to you and Ritika for letting me part of this OPM community in my own small way.
Absolutely. Do you want to just introduce yourselves? Tell us a little bit about what you do.
My name is Ramandeep. I did my graduation in Bachelor's of Dental Surgery, but I was pretty sure that I'm not going to follow the routine practicing as a physician. So I immediately started hospitals in 2001. And during my journey of building the company, along with the team, I did a management program from Indian School of Business and then CELP from Harvard. And so together, along with the support from the family and many senior people, we have built this company over the last 25 years. The first hospital was started in 2001. And since then, we've been building upon it.
So basically, we did BDS just to meet each other.
Yeah. Kind of.
And kind of, yeah. He had this business equity since then only. When at that time only he was used to read those Business Times. That time those magazines used to come, Business Times, Business Today. That used to be his favorite time. Every 15 days they used to come. He used to buy and he used to read those more than anatomy and physiology and how books change your life. Even then, I once visited US, so I picked up a book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, and after that, our whole perspective of how to be an entrepreneur and how to go about the business actually changed. I still think if we had just stayed on that path, our life would have been totally different, not what it is today. I'm very thankful for the habit of reading and maybe getting the right books at the right time.
Yes.
Yeah. A great book is probably the best friend one can have. So, Ritika, you credited a book being one of the inspiring moments for you all to finally get the courage maybe to move ahead with an idea. Talk to me about your backgrounds. Do you all come from business families? Have your parents been entrepreneurs?
So my father is an entrepreneur and I've been like in the business family since childhood and I've seen how business families actually work. We have our ups and downs. Sometimes we just feel like the business is going to fall. I've had it with my father like twice, but then somehow he's still working. He's 70 plus. He still has his business. It's still flourishing really well. And then his father, they had their own nursing home in Jalalabad, which was not like a full-fledged business, but yes, whatever, that was the best in that area. From there, we as a family, then we started building chains of healthcare and pharmacy, laboratory, hopefully soon education also in a much better way. So this is what we are doing.
My family were professionals in the sense my dad and mom both were doctors. Dad is a surgeon and mom is a gynecologist. And my brother is also a radiologist. Mm-hmm. My family background have been like into medicine.
You can imagine our dinner conversations.
Yeah. So Raman, always know that growing up you wanted to pursue something in healthcare given both your parents and your sibling were in this field?
Yeah, so I reflect upon this thing a lot, like what got me started. I think the two things which I would say got me started was definitely there was a love for healthcare. I loved healthcare simply because I figured out that it has a lot of impact. It has a lot of impact on the society. That was one thing. But other thing was that sincerely speaking, I really wanted to make money. Sometimes the inspiration is also to make a money. So that was also one inspiration, but to do it in a meaningful way. Healthcare and my whole motivation to make money and have a better living standard was probably the reason in the beginning. But that's a reason in the beginning, but after first two hospitals, that is no longer the reason. Then you figure out your purpose on the way. So there was no purpose in the sense when I started, but obviously it developed after some time. So you can say that.
But I also feel in business, your purpose also keeps changing. Like initially when he started, yes, healthcare because Papa, Mummy were in this field. There's a lot of respect. And this is something which naturally fell to us. We had a certain kind of guidance. Okay, we had a certain kind of idea how this business might run. Obviously, running as a doctors themselves, but hiring doctors to do it for you is a totally different ballgame. So that was the learning process which we had to understand. Now, what happens with what I'm telling with education, what helps us is where I was doing this leadership course from Harvard. So in that they have written, you have been the best player, you have been the best doctor or the best whatever, and that has got you promoted to be a leader. Once you reach to be a leader, your total ball game changes. What makes you a good leader is not what got you there. So then you have to totally change yourself. You have to let go of so many things. You have to start giving credibility or to other people. You have to see other people making mistakes in your own business. That was all a very learning process. So that's why that's what I was trying to say. When we started, yes, financial was the main reason, and we were very young. We were 22, 23. And gradually after 4 5 years then you realize no, there's more to it. You can dream big. I still think I keep asking him, do you think we dreamt smaller? Do you think we could have
Yeah, that's always a question.
That's always a question.
If you're successful, you in a small way, if you're successful, you always figure out I could have done more. But then it can act other ways also. That once you're not so successful and you face a setback or a failure, then you realize, oh man, I could have cut a little bit. I could have been a little bit more slower than what I have been. I could have dreamt a little smaller. So that thing always plays in your mind.
I've not heard of dropouts. I've heard of engineering dropouts. So, what were you thinking at that point? From what I gather, you were both from middle class families. Somewhat of an insecurity about the future as well. But there's also this love you have for him. So, what was your mindset like? What was your family situation like? In terms of everyone maybe trying to convince you that hey,
I come from a financially better off family. I'm coming from a business family. He is coming from government job family. So you can understand the difference in dynamics. So what actually, so it's in college, so everybody, the young guys, whoever used to propose, the only thing they had flowers and everything for me or whatever, we'll give you the best life and everything. He was different. He is the one who actually saw me as doing something in life. I was not faring in some subject well. So he said, Ritika, there's something off because you're working hard. So let me help you get better. So he was there to help me get better. And I used to spend a lot. So he used to keep a check on my spending also at that time. I think he used to keep telling me in my life when we were about to get a little romantically, involved or something. The first thing I still tell him, he tells me that you have to accept the fact that my life is my career. That is my top priority. And then will come family and then you. So they're like, okay, I'll reach the family part soon. But I loved the fact that at that age, he had a vision. He had an idea that yes, I'll be something big in life. It was something which is not seen in at that. I don't even remember any guy having this thing in there. So I think that's what clicked. And I am also a very practical person. So I tell my kids also, don't go in for the people who give over romanticism. They should have some purpose in life. You should always have a purpose. That is what will keep you happy, and that is what will drive you in life. Good purpose, meaningful purpose.
So coming back to the point that coming from a family and then kind of dropping out from a medical and not from engineering, I think for me there is a lot of support from my parents, a lot of support from my dad and mom, and a lot of support from Ritika also. So they can. So if the people around you don't doubt you, you have more confidence in what you're trying to do. In that way, I was lucky. Parents were very supportive. In fact, my first investors were my dad and mom. So you can imagine. And then Ritika was supportive. My brother was supportive. So that helps. The reason that you could do all this is not just because I had a motivation, is also because the people believed in you.
100%.
See, you can imagine 23-year-old starting a business in a hospital where the showroom's rent was going to be about 60,000 at that time. I'm talking 2001. And when we built the hospital, it was costing us more than 50,000 per month. So there were a lot of doubts from the other people that such a young guy with no experience is doing this. But that's what Mama were there, Papa were there. They were supporting us, and they're like, "No, you go ahead. Let's just do it. We believe in you." That was an amazing driving force. I guess it comes down to it's your team. Who are your supporters and how you make your team? We still have those people with us. The ones with which we started the hospital, I think most of them are still with us.
You all started a 60-bed hospital initially. Why start a hospital? Why not maybe a small clinic in healthcare? Your vision seems to be a lot bigger at that point than any young entrepreneur would have.
In India, if you look at the dynamics and if you look at how the healthcare delivery, we call it healthcare delivery, the hospitals form a healthcare delivery part of the business because the other components of healthcare are also pharmaceuticals and other things. We are in healthcare delivery as in hospitals. So what happens in healthcare delivery is most of the revenue would come from only IPD. That's how the Indian healthcare dynamics are structured. Even if somebody has an insurance, why IPD? IPD means the inpatient department.
Inpatient, the ones who get admitted.
The ones who get admitted. That's how the dynamics of the whole healthcare industry are been structured from a regulatory framework also. In the sense, the insurance will reimburse only the IPD part and not the OPD part. Not if you consult, but only if you get admitted. So the whole dynamics are skewed towards IPD admissions, and I kind of figured it out because if it is just an OPD center, it will not financially make sense. That was one reason to focus on IPD, and Sohin, that is still a fact right now, which is not a nice thing. The doctors are not incentivized to treat on consultation basis, but the whole dynamics is skewed towards having an IPD patient, and that's how the healthcare industry has been around now. If you look at all the hospital chains and most of the healthcare delivery companies, they're all focused on IPD admissions and opening up IPD centers rather than OPD centers. So that is one reason.
Having a hospital means you're trying to figure out so many different nitty-gritties. So how did you figure all of that moving pieces out? Did you have consultants you worked with?
When I was doing my internship, so the course for the dentistry is 4 years and 1 year is internship. Internship is that you have to work in a government hospital or in a dental college. That 1 year I was working for another hospital, not as a dentist, but as a manager. So I was trying to understand the nitty-gritties of the business. There were not many private hospitals that time, like 25 years ago. But whatever was there, I was working with them. Kind of figured it out in my short duration that how the dynamics are working. I also had an experience from my mom and dad's hospital, though it was a small hospital, independent hospital that they were running. That experience, and because it was a small hospital, so you could make mistakes and learn. And
we were young. The reason we could take so many risks is because we were young, no kids. We could take the risk. Our first surgery, which we had in our hospital, he would get up at 4 and he would reach before the surgeon would reach. He would make sure everything is fine, everything is done. I think one week or 10 days went like this. I used to tell him, why are you going? The doctor has to operate. Why are you going? He would sleep at 12 or 1 and then get up at 4, go, stay outside, make sure the surgery is going well. I think that time I have seen him working about 20 hours. What I realized at that time, you have to be very humble. Since you are starting very young and you have to work with people who are already very experienced and obviously much mature in age than you. The humbleness and the drive and the vision is what gets you through those first 10-15 years. You have to let go of your ego and you should know that yes, this is happening. Something which I feel in this new generation is lacking, which I'm sounding like an old lady now. At that time, I didn't understand why is he doing this. It's his hospital and he's giving them money. They are doing the surgery. Why is he taking everything? But now when I look back, his vision was far greater than his own ego. The ego has never come in between. I still tell it to everybody. That's the reason we have been able to achieve so much in life because of the humbleness and the drive to do something. That the vision was always there.
And I'll give you another perspective to this, which I have figured out is that when you have a lot of experience, it is good in a way, but it is bad in a way that you start to think of risk far more than it is actually there. If I'm supposed to start a hospital now, and I will not advise the same Raman to do it. I will not advise him because there were There are too many risks that I perceive now, which I did not perceive that time. It's kind of ignorance is bliss. When I now look at the business, it's like when you are at a certain point in business, you would stop taking risk, and then they would tell you in Harvard also, you stop taking risk. The point is that there's much more to lose now than it was then. I think as you become successful, there is a counterproductive thought that the risks are more, and then you stop doing new things. I think that time I had this advantage that since I did not have any experience, I perceived zero risk in doing that, which I will not recommend to anybody right now.
It's same for marriage also. Once you look like, would you do the take the
You can have the same thing in marriage. Once you're married for 25 years, you won't
would you
recommend
marry
it.
the same person?
So yes.
It's life. But you have to take the risk. Basically, that's what I'm trying to say. Obviously, if you go back, like, would I marry the same person or would I have taken the same decisions? But that's what I tell him. Each and every step which you have taken is actually, even though it's wrong, it's a step stone. That is what will teach you, and that's how you go up. You can't take right decisions straight away. Never. If you do, then there's something seriously wrong in your life, I think.
So, Raman, you started this hospital and you're working on getting it off the ground. Ritika, what are you doing at this point?
So I have been a full-fledged maxillofacial surgeon for about 20 years now. First, since initially when the hospital wasn't profitable, so I had to take a job outside, obviously to support the whole finance part. Then the college actually, that time it was my field, there were very less doctors, especially women. They're hardly there in my field. So I was paid really nicely for very less time, 2 hours a week, very nice pay. Then gradually, obviously, when they started demanding for more time and I already had 2 kids, I said, why give time, give my all my energy to some others' business rather than my own? So I insisted that I have to join you, I have to join in this. So for him to let go of such a big pay package was a big deal. He's like, no, you cannot do that.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I have this gut feeling I have to work back into our hospital. I worked with Indus, I think 1.5, 2 years without pay. So his credit card that time, I think that was the best decision of my life. I am his personal frontline, input giver who tells him this is what used to happen, this is how the hospital. So 20 years then. And then in 2020, kids have grown up, you get some time, and then there is no ladder to rise in your business life. He is a very hands-on operational. I am more on strategy and financing. I have more patience, so I make more strategies. I'm more forcing, more intuitive. He's also becoming more intuitive, but we balance each other in that way. The things which he does, I can't do, and likewise.
The whole point was that initially we needed one stable income because the cash flow from the business was obviously not good and it was not in a regular stream. So we needed one stable job, and Ritika kind of contributed in doing a job, and then I was doing more of a hustle. And now when the things are most, she joined back in business, and that's how we are working right now.
That's his perspective.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, the family is already there. So we were already working together. Mom had come from the hospital which they had in Jalalabad. I think after some time, we call them here in Chandigarh. The parents also joined us. It's like the whole family business. And then we started getting more partners to help us expand. Somehow it just gradually fell into the growth pattern.
In India, the banking sector, is very mature and good. So we are mostly supported by the banks. We carry significant debt on our books because we want to expand inorganically. So the first 4 hospitals we built from the scratch because it's cheaper to build a hospital than to acquire one. And then the next 6 hospitals were all acquired. When you acquire hospitals, you obviously carry a lot of debt on your books. So that has been our thing. We want to unlock the value at a certain point of time. But that certain point of time, we have to figure out. The team is bigger now. We are 3,700 to 4,000 employees. We are starting a new hospital in January. Some of the senior professionals now, they are also shareholders, minority shareholders, but they are part of the book. We've not given them ESOPs. We have not taken that route. They have acquired equity at a lesser rate, but they have acquired the equity. It's kind of, they have a skin in the game now. So that's how we've been structured. Healthcare, Sohin, is a very manpower dependent business, whether you look from operational point of view or you look from the doctor's perspective. In our hospital business also, our philosophy is that our first customer is the doctor. It's not the patient. If we attract the right kind of doctor, then all our things fall into place. It's a very manpower dependent business. So we've defined our customer. The first customer is a doctor, and the second customer is the patient. Few of our customers are also now shareholders, and they hold a minority stake. But the most of it is held by the family.
Got it. Ritika, you're a maxillofacial surgeon. Could you share some instances of certain surgeries you might have done where you felt deeply connected with the patient? Like how do you distinguish your professional side from feeling too connected with the patient either during the surgery or post surgery where you feel tempted to follow up on the outcome?
A lot, since being very high in empathy. Initially, it was very draining for me to do that, because being like a motherly figure, and you may want to make sure, and then once you grow, you start doing more high risk cases like cancer patients. They get too dependent on you. They'll call you even for small things. So it used to be very draining. But that time I realized I have to accept myself as a human. So as a doctor, you start thinking, yes, you can heal that person. I have to accept as a human, and I had to start building a wall with their emotions. But those cases were very less. They were more of successful cases, because I do majorly trauma. Cancer patients, you cannot tell them anything for first 5 years. What also I realized as a maxillofacial surgeon is you have to keep yourself, like someone mentioned, as a third person. You have to just see from outside. As a doctor, I see what is the best that I can do, and then I leave everything to God. You have to leave everything to God. I think surgery is something which has actually made me what I am today. You do say that I have humor and I have a lot of gratitude. I saw a 12-year-old Sohin. She had a disease where her body was eating her face on its own. So she had half face. Like first it was the bones, then the muscles, and then the skin. So 12-year-old, and she had half face. It started at the age of 10, and it will stay till she gets puberty. Seeing that child actually changed. I'm like, if anything, I feel like whatever problems I get, is it solvable? Okay. Is it solvable by medicine, by anything? That's what we also say. We don't treat diseases as like, oh my God, this has happened. But if it is treatable, I'm very thankful. Whenever I feel there's something going bad, I always remember that child who she was still very happy, doing very well. Imagine who was still going to school and being mocked at. And in Pune, in Maharashtra, that was there. Absolutely, it made me more gratitude and more positive. And yes, humor also it has to be a part of your life, otherwise you can't survive.
Ritika, you have an incredible sense of humor, something you touched on right now. And that's very rare in leaders because they carry so much responsibility. So, where do you derive your humor from? Has this been something you've had, since you were born, or at a certain stage in your life, do you start looking at the more challenging moments in life from a more comical perspective?
I got you from this, Salman.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Quite.
yeah, he takes the full credit for it. Basically, he tells me I am not the same Ritika he met in college. I was a very shy introvert and never used to take joke. No, very less sense of humor. My kids tell me my sense of humor is broken a lot of times. So one lesson he told me, I still remember it. So what happens is whenever you are in family or when you're with your friends, they always try to tell you that they're better than you. So I used to always respond back with my friends and everybody. Oh, why are you saying this? So he told me that they can let them think they are better. You just join hands and you just say, yes, you are the best, you are the worst, and move on. Don't have anything to prove to anyone except yourself. That perspective just changed in something coming from Delhi, that to South Delhi. This is something which we don't believe in this. We think if we don't show our real self, people will step on you and they'll move on. But he has shown me to find the balance of not being stepped on, but still being humble. I think in that ways, humor helps a lot.
What role does gratitude play in your life?
Everything. I cannot survive without gratitude. its story goes back when I was 12 years old. We used to go to this clubhouse where parents and my friends' parents used to play tambola all the time. 1 year, Sohin, I didn't win a single tambola. And I started literally crying, went alone, and I'm like, what's the use? I don't win anything. I'm not lucky enough. That's when I don't know what happened. I started at that time counting my blessings. And I was upset for half an hour. And when I started counting my blessings, gradually I started feeling better about myself. This started at the age of 12. And it has taken years of hard work, of working on my gratitude. And it always works. It's like a gratitude pill. We used to call it chill pill in school, in college. It's like, please take a chill pill and move on. So gratitude has always helped me to get through everything in life. The secret and manifestation, everything came later. I mean, they put words to your feelings nowadays. But then this is what it started, and that is what I tell my kids also. This is something which I have worked for 20 years and I have reached here. So don't think that you can get it immediately, but this is what will get you through a lot of things in life.
We
And
can
do
think
you-
it as a survival mechanism.
Yeah.
Do you guys journal for this, or is there a procedure you have, like, hey, at the end of the day, write down 5 things, or is it just more inherent where it's in your mind and you're just reflecting on the positives as opposed to a certain negativity?
I think as a habit, we kind of reinforce this with each other. I think we both read a lot and we both write a lot. As a doctor, you start reading a lot because you have a lot of studies to do, and then that habit is on forever. We both read a lot, and then because we write a lot, I think that one aspect is there that reinforces it. But we also, when we are talking to each other and when one person is showing a gratitude, we kind of also reinforce and say, yeah, that's the way to go. That's the way to go.
And also, I would like to take the credit for giving him the habit of reading. I am the one.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Raman, I usually reserve this question for the end on a book that inspired you. But
I
since
know,
it's
I
come
know.
up, any books that besides Rich Dad Poor Dad which
Nah.
have left an influence on you?
Yeah, absolutely. So in the way I started was, when you start your business and 20 years ago, it was mostly self-help books, and then you can name so many. But now I have moved from self-help books to other kind of books which are non-fiction, and the favorite books, they keep on changing. With every new book, you like the one which you're reading currently, and then if it touches your heart. Right now, I'm reading a book called The Strategy by Thomas Friedman. It's basically a history of the strategy. It's
It has HPS also in it. How they started with case history studying for the strategy. How did they come up with that strategy?
So the strategy in business is Harvard Business School is one of the starting points of strategy in business. But the strategy as a concept got started in army and military, and it starts from there. And the book is called The History of the Strategy. The second book I would recommend is the book called The Debt. It's about how that was started, and it is by David Graeber. It's an amazing book. So I got this book strategy from Harvard Boston only when I was there, and Harvard bookstore. I went there and then I saw this book.
Ritika, you once told me that for entrepreneurs, failure has a bigger definition. It's about letting the family and the loved ones down. That is what failure feels like to an entrepreneur. Could you just elaborate that thought a little more?
Yes, failure I think every 5 years, 6 years, the definition of failure changes. That's what I have seen. Initially, it was financial records. That was the failure point. Then, are you growing enough or not? That's the failure point. So it keeps changing. But us being in a healthcare company, in this system, there are a lot of risks and a lot of crises which keeps popping anytime. You name it, it's there. So once, about 2-3 years back, we had a very bad crisis, and he was really a lot of major stress. And I was like, it has happened before. Why is he reacting so badly? I just told him, I said, I'll handle everything myself. You don't have to stress. Even if you have to go to jail, you go jail. It's okay. I'll handle. So then he was immediately very happy, and he said, after the whole crisis situation went off. He said, the only thing that was stopping me from facing that situation was because I was thinking about my family. Like once he told me that, Raman, I will be okay, you go ahead and you face that situation, that actually made me more relaxed, and I could see the situation and I could help and get out of it somehow in some way. That's when we came to the conclusion, once we know that your family is safe, you can take risks. Family is everything. That's how we came down to it. Now we are working on a system where if something happens to anybody, at least the family should be safe.
The failure, right now, the way I'm thinking about failure, I used to think about failure before HBS in a very different way. It used to personally affect me. But now I see failure from a perspective of trying new things.
Yeah, acceptance of failure is also a very, if you have a very changed attitude around it, and you have to see why did that failure happen. You learn and then you go ahead. Every failure, if you go into the blame game, then also it's useless. In a company, you have to take the person out of from the problem. You have to see the problem, and when you start solving that problem, it even helps that person to grow. There was one lecture which I had attended where they said, you keep telling the same thing to your operation or OT assistant, that operation theater assistant. One thing you keep telling that person, and every time that person will not do that sepsis thing, he will not do. You keep saying. It's because we're not teaching them why do we want it to be done in the same way. We just tell them do it the same way. So once you start training them also for the same thing, because if you don't do this, this will happen. Only then they will understand why we are doing this. And how do you come to know if you do this? If you face the failures yourself, or you read books, or you do Harvard. You will do Harvard.
Yeah. So, given that you all have built everything together, what advice would you have for couples looking to get into business?
I think as a woman, maybe from the mom side, you have to be confident and be sure of what actually you want. Because as growing up, I knew I always wanted to be a mom. I wanted to take care of the kids. So initially, I used to be more active at home, less in work. And gradually, as the kids started growing, then I went back into the work. So those times I was really doubtful. You see a lot of your friends and everybody doing much better in life than they are. Not now, but maybe that time. So as a couple, I think you have to talk it out. He said 70% you take care of the kids, 30% you work in the office, and he will do 30% with kids and 70% obviously off and on. Then it changes with time. Now it's 50-50%. Because the kids have grown up and maybe they relate to him more. As a couple, you have to set your boundaries and your dynamics, and balance is there. He is good in something, and there are some certain things which he does which I don't agree with, but I have to trust him. There has to be a lot of trust with each other, and we have to let him make mistakes so that we can learn from him, and then I can tell him I told you so. Publicly, never humiliate each other, especially in board meetings. One, you can always do that later. Number two, yes, as young people, maybe I have done that, I don't know. So, and never get that anger back. 100, I think 24/7, the only thing we're talking is work and kids. And it doesn't affect us because we don't take the arguments in a very negative way. We talk, and then we come to a conclusion. So there are times when he has to let go of certain things which I really strongly believe in, and vice versa.
What I believe is, you first have to understand it's challenging. Challenging in a sense. The reason is because as a family, it's a socialist system. And as a business, it is a capitalist system. And you're doing the both systems with the same person. At one point, the only concern is to make it better. And the other point, it's the family considerations. It's not necessarily what is good for the business. So it's challenging. You have to first accept that it is challenging. But then I think if you have trust and if you talk to each other, I think these are the golden rules. You just need to talk to each other and have faith and trust. Once the trust is not there, whether it is your partner or a business partner, I don't think so it's going to work. So the trust is
the difficult conversations.
Yes.
Just have the difficult conversations in a very neutral, non-blaming, non-defensive way. I think that would be the crux of anybody actually working together.
Ritika, what message would you specifically have for women entrepreneurs in India now that you've exposed yourself to female entrepreneurs from world over, heard their stories as well, learned about their journeys? When you come back and reflect on it, if you think about our country and aspiring entrepreneurs, women, what would you think and tell them?
So in India, so women are expected to do more at the house front and the kids front. And somehow, I think we are also brought up that way that if we ignore the family and we go more in for the work, we are maybe looked down upon and treated in a very different way. What I learned, I almost went into a depression because we have almost same education. I actually went and did post graduation, and he was the one who was working more and I was staying at home. Then I asked few women who were doing already well in life. Everybody had taken about 9 to 12 years major off from their work, but it's like on a slow cooker, you keep the work there. It was brewing. Like I was teaching in college for 2 hours, then I started joined the hospital for 2 hours. It was like brewing slowly and slowly. The slow cooker actually the flavor is much better. So you have to understand that. Have patience, faith, and keep it on slow cooker. Your wife will always work out the way you want it to. If you feel that you want to give time to your kids, please give time to your kids. If you feel part time works for you, please do that. Do whatever works for you. Being full time housewife. So it is not who is a good mom. It's like, is a working mom a good mom? Is a part time working or a housewife? It's a happy mom. Whatever keeps you happy. So if you are happy doing whatever you're doing, you will be the best mom or the best person or wife in the world.
So, Raman, I believe you went to an executive program at HBS first, correct? What inspired you to look to education again after all the success that you had already seen over the last couple of years?
When I did my course, Hospital Management from Indian School of Business, I felt that I have a new perspective. The reason I went to HPS was I was in stage in my life where there were two pathways that I needed to decide which one to take. One was to actually exit the business. Since I have reached a certain stage, I could have exited. And the second thing was I stay and, delay my instant gratification a little bit more and build something better and bigger, and which is also going to take a lot of effort. So I was trying to, if you put it all together, I was trying to figure out my purpose. So my core. I think in that context, I was looking for something that will give me time off from my work, but at the same time, I'll meet the people who I can discuss with what I wanted to do and reflect upon myself. And that's the reason I did Selfie. I looked for courses everywhere. Then I figured out that this was two modules were in India, one in Boston, kind of suited my time also. And that's why I chose it. But the reason I chose it was that I was looking for the purpose in my life. Okay. I was trying to define my purpose at that point of time. So that's the reason
when you say SELPI, you mean Senior Executive Leadership Program at
Leadership Program in India. It's about the leaders. It has a lot of Indian context to it, a lot of Indian and Southeast Asia context to it. Your program is more global, but our has more Indian context to it, and the participants are 70% from India and maybe 30% from Southeast Asia, like Philippines or maybe Dubai or places like this.
So you, Ritika, were recommended to OPM by Professor Das itself. He's the rockstar professor at OPM.
Indirectly.
Wow. How long ago was that he told you about OPM?
So let me tell you that I finished my program on 6th September, and imagine in October Ritika filled her form for OPM. So we were like
1 month, hardly 1 month.
1 month of me coming back from Boston is that I recommended this to Ritika. I said, go ahead and do it.
And we have been listening about the OPM course for a long time from everywhere. Everybody kept telling that OPM course is very nice. You should do that. And somehow once he came back, he hinted OPM is good. And the dates also worked according to my schedule. So I just randomly applied at night, like, let's do it. He's already done one course, so why to repeat the same one?
I was quite impressed by the whole program, the program that I had. So I suggested this to Ritika, and then one of our senior executives from our medical director right now is also doing CELPI now in January. I thought with the great ideas, if they're shared, they become more powerful. I thought if Ritika and senior executives from our hospital maybe together we have a similar ideas, maybe we'll do better. So that's my idea to actually encourage them to do.
Actually, that's amazing. So we had these meet few days back. So few of the women are actually starting their own. They're taking themselves out from their own business. They're starting their own business so that they can work and they can get the team which understands what we learned from Harvard. They tried with their staff and they were not able to get it, and the business is already doing really good. So they like the people are also not accepting it's too much of hard work. So they said, let's do a fresh start. Few of them are sending their staff to do the Harvard course, and some of them are starting their own business again next year so that they can do it the Harvard way. The OPM is that way is very life changing, and I think to have your own cohort, it's better that people also understand. Who will understand culture and your core values and the customer is a hero until unless us saying it and Professor Das saying it, it's way beyond.
What was the most transformative idea for you from OPM that shifted your thinking?
I think everything that Professor Raman and Professor Das, the way they did explained everything was life changing. How you should have a proper like a TPS system. Everything should happen on this own. The psychological safety was also mind blowing for me. It was also an eye opening that there is a term for it and you can say that. And I think one of the professors also said in the meeting, always keep the person and the problem separate. You have to sort out the problem rather than the person and the people. Meeting the people like Lynette, the one who's still working with 4 kids, all the women. I mean, I'm especially going to everyone and asking them how have they achieved so much. So that's why thanks to your podcast, I'm actually able to come to know how they're doing and everything. It's both the professors, the lecturers, and the people who are already there. The whole thing is, I think, life changing.
Guys, if you were speaking to your 25-year-old self, what advice would you give to him or her?
For me, I'm very clear. I thought my starting point was too small. I should have thought bigger. And second, that if I could have this knowledge about building teams, I would have built the team from day one, which I did eventually after 20 years or maybe 15 years. So these two things. I think I did not think so big. I did not have confidence to think very big. And second, I did not know how to make a great team. These two things for me.
I think just trust yourself. Just have faith and trust and keep doing what you're doing is the right thing. I think my major problem was self-doubt. I had a lot of self-doubt as at that age also. Now I look back, if I knew this is how it will all turn out to be, not that I would change the path, it would be the same path, but maybe more faith and more confidence. I would have enjoyed more. Less stress, give more time to children, or maybe work more.
What role, if any, has spirituality played in your journey?
For me, I have always been very spiritually high, and absolutely all of my decisions are taken by intuition. My maxillofacial surgery, I did not want to do. It just fell in my lap. Like, I tried for 1 year, I tried getting other fields, but I never got anything. It just came on my lap. Job just came. And before that, I was looking for a job for 7 months. Ultimately, I used to just let go. What I realized is whatever I resist the most is something what I need the most, which I don't realize. And now when I look retrospectively, why was I resisting these things? They were just so meant to be. I was resisting Harvard course also. But then it suddenly, in 2 days, I got admission. And when I just went there, I think 6 days before only, I got all the matter and everything. But it went, I think, pretty well. So him and I, we were the ones who were always in the class.
I don't know about me so much. Ritika was always raising her hand.
So I also want to share the few quotes which I liked, which Harvard actually gave us. One is from him: in your company, it's better to have a hole rather than have an asshole. That was from the Rob Parson case.
That was from the Rob Parson case. We had a similar case, and the professor Joshua said, it's better to have a hole in the company than having an asshole in the company.
For mine was take the shot, the customer is the hero. And then one professor also said, cannibalize yourself before your competitors kill you. those were psychological safety, that term. That was amazing. The TPS system. I think one more which these were like amazing quotes which they all shared with us after every class. Which one was yours? Do you remember?
For me, I think a standout quote for me would have been, I think it didn't come from the professor, it actually came from the participants. So, Jeff was one of the leaders for Mount Everest case, and he told his team to slow down. And I felt there was so much wisdom in what he said, right? Because in my experience, and now it's turning into my interviews,
No, it's fine. No, I
the most
interview him
important
then, yeah.
moments in my life, if I've rushed to a decision or if I've felt the pressure of taking a decision, I have not acted in the best interest of the situation. So that stood out to me. And again, in that same scenario, what Ray Harrigill told his team, where he said, "Hey, my goals are not superior to my team's goals." That A, it melted me to know that such leadership exists, and B, I felt like I was one of his team members, I would probably be doubly motivated to make sure now I can support his goals as well. So it's
You were my team member.
apologies.
I was your leader, but I did.
So you have to change it now.
Oh yeah. I remember what we did during ours. I think we had one.
Yeah, so
person out
I
of
said the
Gupta
same
and
thing.
nine
I
dead
said,
bodies.
please tell me your goals. Yeah. No, I said the same thing. I said, please tell me your goals because I know you have some goals. I'll help you to get this.
It's okay now.
No, but actually we had two leaders, so they didn't know which one to trust.
When everyone is a leader, then no one is a leader.
When everyone's responsible, no one's responsible. That was also an amazing quote. The last one was for the family. Don't have too many branches in your tree. Cut the branches for your legacy to build on.
Yeah, some incredible cases and moments. I think this has been an amazing conversation. So I wanted to thank both of you all. Raman, especially you, because we've not spoken before.
No,
and
thank you.
trusted us and made yourself available. So appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you for having me.
It's a privilege to be here.